Okay, hello to Live Pharma Coalition, LPC audience, viewers, and LPC 72 leadership speakers and panelists and monitor. As you may know, every week, Sunday at 11 a.m., as per the Indian Standard Times, it's time for the weekly LPC online pharma discussions. This LPC online pharma discussion sessions is for the all pharmaceutical, life sciences, and healthcare industry people from all the departments and sub-departments across the globe. Also, the LPC have started is the next arm of the LPC, that is the LPC mentor program for the LPC registered member to have the customized learning and sharing platform every month, third Sunday at 5 p.m. IST. And last Sunday, we had first and second LPC, that is the first and two. At the 5 p.m. IST, kindly do the registration for the fulfilling your need, customized learning and sharing skill required in the pharmaceutical, life sciences, and healthcare industry. Third LPC, that is the MP3, will be on this month, third Sunday, 19 September 2021 at the 5 p.m. IST. Before we start today's the LPC 71 leadership sessions, I would like to share the past, current, and the future plan in the form of the numbers of the LPC, aim, objective, mission, vision of the pharmaceutical industry, life science, and healthcare industry across the globe. Here, I would like to take the opportunity to share my screen. Hope the screen is visible to all audience, and it must be on the full screen mode. As Live Pharma Coalition, in a short way, we call it as the LPC. It's India's largest online pharma discussion platform. From the day one till time and the futures, the objective of the LPC will remain the same. That is the learning and sharing for on the platform because of the three things: consistency of all the sessions. Second is large number of the audience and 360-degree of the learning from the all departments as well as the sub departments of the pharmaceutical industry. It comes and share their own experience. As you know that the LPC journey begins for the pharma learning and sharing in the month of the May 2020, and it has started along with my college mates, senior, juniors from the pharmaceutical industry. Along with me, three joint executive, they have joined with LPC, that is Mr. Yashwant Mishra, Mr. Ashish Verma, and Mr. Vinod Vaswani. Subsequently, it has taken into the next level by every day, every week, every month, it's becoming the larger and larger. Now we have 70 plus pharmaceutical companies and institutions, 180 plus speakers, and 2,000 people reached onto the Facebook and YouTube viewers to get the benefit of the all four sessions of the month, and it has been bifurcated for the benefit to a audience as well as the benefit to a speaker. LPC 1, here we are today here for the leadership talk. LPC 2 is the global, LPC 3 is the young, 4 is the academic, and 5th is the woman. So when it comes to the LPC 1, week 1, that is the LPC leadership program, it will be dedicated for the LPC cells and the marketing team along with the other departments where like the people they are there into the leadership teams, they takes the benefit of the experience, all the speakers, those who share their own experience to viewers as like their own experience. So different learning format discussions for the different audience and the viewers, that is every week bifurcation. Then along with our joint executive, now we do have 30 executive members, those who takes care of it. This is a LPC leadership which can be taken care by the 4 executive members of the first week. Dedicatedly, as these numbers, it is really reflecting into a Facebook as well as the people reach on YouTube. It's 20,000 plus. Currently, we have it 5,000 the Facebook engagement and 2,000 LPC subscriber as well as the viewers we have each sessions. As already discussed about the mentor program, it's on the every month, third week. It's for the LPC registered member, and we always thanks to our LPC the last sessions we live audience and the viewers. It is the LPC 71 women leadership team where they have been joined with us on the Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much for them. And coming to LPC 72 today's leadership sessions, here we will have the big teachers, because today is the teacher day. I will say them the teachers, all the 3 speakers, along with the moderators. Here we will have our own executive member, those who will be taking care of the sessions, Mr. Yashwant Mishra sir, Mr. Ashish Verma, Mr. Arpit Kumar Paul, and Mr. Hitesh Uprati. They will be like the moderating today's LPC 72 leadership sessions. Over to you, Yashwant sir, for the further proceeding of the today's LPC 72 sessions.
Thank you very much, Raman. Thank you very much. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurura Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. We are privileged and fortunate to have teachers par excellence in the auspicious Teachers Day in our Life Pharma Coalition. All the teachers of pharma industry are there with us. So we are humbled and we welcome all the teachers to this forum. Before we start, a brief perspective. All of you will agree that dynamics of pharma industry are changing very rapidly. So also the leadership domain, perspective of leadership is changing. And today, all the eminent speakers are going to share with us what are the changes happening and what the leaders of today should learn from the changes. So we have with us Mr. Vivek Khatangadi sir, who is associated with the enabler for the international program with the Academy of Pharmaceutical Leadership APL for the offline program and Pharma State Academy for online program. And Vivek sir is going to share with us leadership in pharma, learnings from the armed force. Then we have Mr. Venugopal Vijayendran sir, President, India Business in Intel Pharmaceuticals. And Venugopal sir is going to share with us pharma business models. What are the changes in this pandemic? And last but not least, we have Dr. Sunil Deshpande sir, who is associated with SIS College of Management and also Academy of Pharmaceutical Leadership. And he is going to share with us that excellence in leadership, perspective, and learning. So we are fortunate. And along with me, I have co-moderators, Mr. ICS Verma sir, Arpan Paul, and Hitesh sir. So let me take a brief overview of this topic from each of my co-panelists, and then we'll go to the leaders. So ICS sir, welcome to LPC. What is your view on this today's scenario?
Yeah, thank you, Yashwant, and once again, happy Teachers' Day to all the gurus of online and offline learning. And today we are with us, the great teachers from both marketing and sales as well as strategy. So this is a great platform. It's a privilege to be part of this platform today with a very one of the most respected teachers of the pharma industry on the stage today. So coming to the topics today, what I can assure the audience is they can get the practical aspects of both pharma, strategy, marketing, and sales, as well as leadership. So, and very, very much required because the kind of the technology is coming into the industry and the changes that is happening with whatever they're from last one and a half year. So you need to unlearn and relearn. So definitely people are going to get a great learning from today's topic. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Hitesh sir, your view on today's topic. Welcome to LPC 72.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yashwant. And it is a great day when we have 3 teachers on LPC panel on Teachers' Day. Personally, there are 2 teachers of mine in the panel today, Mr. Vivek Khatangadi and Mr. Vijayendran, who have taught me many things in the industry in last 30 years of my career. We have already spoken about the topics. Topics are very relevant, but more important today are the speakers. We have Vivek sir, who has, in fact, all of 3 are having more than 4 decades of experience in pharma. So today we are sitting with 120, 130 years experience in pharma. And all of these leaders, they have started from grassroots level to this level. Very, very successful in their careers. They have made many companies, and now today it is we are fortunate to have all the respected leaders to learn many the advancement in industry happening in last 1.5 years. Welcome again, Mr. Khatangadi, Mr. Vijayendran, and Mr. Deshpande. Welcome again, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your view. So, Arpan, welcome to LPC. What's your view on leadership, Arpan?
Thank you, Yashwant sir, and good morning to everybody on LPC 72. And I think the occasion couldn't have been bigger and the day couldn't have been better. So today we are graced by having three wonderful leaders who have over a century of experience in this pharma industry as a marketeer, as a mentor, as a career guide. What more can we expect? Because today is Teachers' Day, the birthday of Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. And we also have people of that stature in the pharmaceutical industry who are the light to the world, the beacon in the dark, and the hope that gives us the strength to survive. Today, as we celebrate Teachers' Day, a day which we keep aside to honor the gifted souls who work every day to make sure that the future is bright for all of us. On this beautiful occasion, let us take the opportunity to convey our regards to all the teachers who have given impeccable contribution in shaping our career. So let us welcome all the teachers with a big round of applause. So thank you so much, Yashwant sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Arapan. And now we'll try to learn from an overview of the topic from each of the speaker today. So first of all, I'm privileged to go to Vivek sir. Vivek sir, welcome again. A brief overview of your topic. Vivek sir.
Sure. Thank you very much, Yashwant. My dream during childhood was basically to join the armed forces. And somehow I couldn't. At last, I got the job of a medical representative. And I always felt, yes, this is something next to a job in the armed forces, because marketing is, after all, warfare. While in the army or the armed forces, we carry out warfare against the enemies, here we carry out against the competitors. So after entering this field, I felt, yes, somehow, if not 100%, at least to 90%, my dream has been met. That's all what I'm trying to say. Thank you very much. And this is the topic on which I'm going to elaborate today.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And we are really privileged to have you after a long time, our request. You have accepted our request. Thanks for Arpan also to bring you to this forum. Looking forward to learn from you. Now, our next speaker is none other than Venugopal Vijayendran, sir. He is the President India Business in Intas Pharmaceutical, going to share with us what are the changes happening in leadership in pandemic. Sir, welcome and brief overview of your topic. Venugopal, sir.
Thank you, Yashwant, and very kind of you for all these nice words that you've given. What I intend to give as an insight is in the last 18-20 months, I have been running this business, and based on the challenges that we face at the marketplace, we are adapting our style on a day-to-day basis. Some of the key adaptations that we have to do and what do we need to do as we pass this phase would be the key focus area that I would give on, because we should not inculcate something which remains with us relevant to a pandemic time in a non-pandemic situation. So I think I'll try and put across some of those adaptations and what we need to do to stay relevant in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Looking forward for learn from you. And last but not least, we have Dr. Sunil Deshpande, sir, who is a known person in academia as well as in industry, associated with SIS College of Management and also Academy of Pharmaceutical Leadership. Sir, thank you very much for accepting our invite. Excellence in leadership, perspective and learning. A brief overview, sir. Unmute, sir. Please unmute. Sunil, sir.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you so much, the LPC team and Mr. Yashwant, for the very good words. It's always nice to hear good about you. And also, I would compliment the LPC team for really choosing a very relevant topic. When actually I was communicated about this topic, the first thought that came to me was that we have leaders and leadership across various sectors. We have across various kind of areas in the society, in various industries, whether it is politics, whether it is sports, whether it is administration, whether it is academia, whether it is industry, whether it is armed forces, etc., etc. Then the point is that there are some leaders, those who have been exceptionally successful over the years, and they have displayed, I would say, a tremendous successful models of leadership across, influencing, thousands and millions of people around. So what could be, their secrets of success? Why are some leaders very, very successful, whereas others might not really be? So that was actually, the thought which came into my mind. And I thought that I should slightly dig deeper into that and, try to assemble my thoughts on this particular aspect. And that is what I'm going to talk really today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Looking forward to learn from you. So with that, let us start. I will invite Arpan to introduce our first speaker, Vivek Khatangadi, sir, and request to all the viewers who are watching live from Facebook and YouTube, keep on sharing your learnings and questions. After the round of presentation, we will take each and every questions from to the speakers. Over to you, Arpan.
Thank you, Yashwant sir. So it is indeed a privilege and honor, and I consider myself very fortunate that Vivek sir has accepted our invite to grace the occasion on LPC 72 as a mark to celebrate Teachers' Day. So Vivek sir is a person who needs no introduction. He has been a mentor, an acharya, a guru to lots and lots of professionals in this pharmaceutical industry, and he has watched them grow and metamorphosize into the level that they are today. Vivek sir started as a medical representative and has 47 years of learning experience and is still learning. He is with the Enablers for International Programs, the Academy of Pharma Leadership for offline programs, and Pharma State Academy for online programs. Vivek sir has the privilege of authoring 6 books, and the 7th is under writing. The most popular are the 13 unshakable laws of pharma branding, and what made you a mid-level manager will not lead you to the C-suite. Today's topic is leadership in pharma, lessons from the armed forces. So let us join hands in welcoming Vivek sir to present his deliberations today. Welcome, Vivek sir.
Thank you very much. And without much ado, let me go to the slides. What are the lessons which the pharma industry can learn from the armed forces? And this is my topic for the day. A disclaimer: all names of companies or brands used for elucidating the subject are not real. The names in some case studies are also the actual names, and any remarks or comments are only for the purpose of learning. Now, one question which I'd like to ask all of you, and Arpan, I would like to have your help here. What is the ultimate aim of providing good leadership in pharma? What is the ultimate aim of providing good leadership in pharma? Companies spend so much of time, resources in training people at all levels, whether medical representatives or the people in the C-suite. What is the ultimate aim of good leadership in pharma? Please answer in chat box in just 1 or 2 words. Just 1 or 2 words. Arpan, can you have some of the answers?
I think Yashwant sir is seeing the chat box. Are we having any? Let me just check, sir.
Yes, I have got a reply from Rajat Shah. And he says, ultimate aim is to create more leaders.
Okay.
Okay.
Any more?
And Kuldeep Solanki says, patient support is very, very important. Productivity.
Only 1 word. I want only 1 or 2 words.
Okay. Yes. And Ramanathan Pai sir says, productivity is more important for the leaders.
Okay, now I have a little different view, and all of you, what you have said is ultimately right. But I have something different, and that is generation of prescriptions. Prescription generation. The ultimate aim of providing good leadership is to get that most difficult thing, and that is a prescription from a doctor. One more poll, Arpan. Who, according to you, was the greatest strategic leader ever known? Who, according to you, was the greatest strategic leader ever known? Sun Tzu, Karl von Clausewitz, or is it Lord Krishna?
So,
Mr. Rajat
Lord
Shah,
Krishna. First response I got is Lord Krishna.
from Rajat
Okay.
Shah, he has said it is Lord Krishna. Mr. Satish
all,
Pandey has
yes.
also said Lord Krishna.
Lord Krishna.
Mr. Tinu John has also said
Great.
Lord
I think everybody is on the right place. Yes, he was the greatest strategist the world has ever produced. And the kind of strategy which he gave to the Pandavas, that was fantastic. It was very simple. And in fact, the language of marketing is borrowed. The language of marketing is borrowed from the armed forces. For example, when we talk about guerrilla marketing, I'm straight away taken to the days of Shivaji Maharaj when he fought with Aurangzeb. Guerrilla marketing today is tailored to help small firms take on larger competitors. And you have a beautiful example here, though not in the pharmaceutical industry, how Ghadi fought Surf. It was through the guerrilla tactics. Or you talk about strategic alliance, it's based on the simple logic. Enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. About 12 years back or 30 years back, the first DP4 inhibitor was launched, Genevia, and it became a big success. And according to me, it is the largest brand, the most successful brand of the 21st century. A year and a half or 2 years later, Galvus from Novartis, they also launched Vildagliptin. But then Geneva was a very strong brand, and they entered into collaboration or alliance. They entered into a strategic alliance with USV. USV was then and even today continues to be the leader in oral hypoglycemic. And they introduced the same brand under the name Jalra. And then Abbott, they in a different brand name. Now the Abbott brand has been transferred to some other company. So this is an example of strategic alliance. Blitzkrieg, a term used to describe all no-holds-barred military attacks. And I take you back on the time machine to 1974, when I just started my career. In that year, a very successful product was launched. That was Septran. And they launched an overall assault on all the antibiotics that were available. And what was their theme? Is the end of the antibiotic era. Is the end of the antibiotic era. Septran, for the next 15-20 years, was one of the top brands till ciprofloxacin came in and displaced the Septran. But this is an example of a frontal attack on the enemy. Then you have the flanking strategy, and there is no better example on how mankind succeeded. Flanking strategy was used by mankind very effectively. What is Karl von Clausewitz? He was a German general. In those days, Germany was called as Prussia, and he was a Prussian general, and he wrote many books on war. And what was his thinking? He said the strength of any strategy lies in its simplicity. the strength of any strategy lies in its simplicity. And one of the best examples, the strategy of the Mahabharata war formulated by Lord Krishna. What was his strategy? Satyamev Jayate. Satyamev Jayate, the victory of good over evil. And this was internalized by even the smallest soldier in the Pandava army, which ultimately led to the victory of the Pandavas. What do we learn from another great writer, Sun Tzu? The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Subdue the enemy without fighting. And from there takes the birth of the Blue Ocean Strategy. Blue Ocean Strategy is how to win a war without fighting. The most effective marketing is to make competition irrelevant. You create your own niche of your own and get away from the red ocean and swim peacefully all alone in the blue ocean. And how can we forget the greatest general of the 20th century? And I don't think there will be such a leader again in the 21st century. Field Marshal Manekshaw, Sam Manekshaw, Sam Bahadur. What does he say on leadership? A yes man is the most dangerous man in the world. A yes man is the most dangerous man in the world. He can become a minister, he can become a secretary, or he can even become a field marshal, but he can never become a leader. He will never, never be respected. He goes on further to say, he'll be used by his superiors. He'll be used by the superiors, disliked by his colleagues, and despised by the subordinates. So his humble submission to all of us in the pharma, discard the yes man. That is what we learn from Field Marshal Manekshaw on leadership. Then there was another general called Charles Krulak. General Charles Krulak, he was heading the US Marines, and he talks about the 3-block war. Now, let us assume that it is the year 2019, and my friend Arpan Paul, he has been invited by Donald Trump for a visit to USA and as a special guest of the White House. Donald Trump sends Arpan a ticket of US Airways. Now, how will Arpan judge what US Airways is? The experience you have with the airlines is in the hands of the lowest paid personnel, that is the check-in person.
Absolutely.
Arpan reaches Washington and he's sent to a very good hotel. How will Arpan judge how that hotel is? The experience which Arpan has with the hotel is in the hands of the receptionist, the lowest paid, one of the lowest paid employees in a hotel. And on the final day, Arpan has dinner with Donald Trump. He takes him to a big restaurant. The experience you have with the restaurant, once again, is in the hands of the lowest paid personnel, that is the stewards. Now, another poll, the experience, good or bad, the experience, good or bad, doctors have with your company is in whose hands? The entrepreneur or the owner of the company, the marketing or the sales head, the brand manager, or is it the medical representative? So please answer on the chat box, and Arpan and Yashan, please help me.
Yes, sir.
Sir, Farooq
IMR.
Mohammed says MR. Farooq Mohammed.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mr.
Nilanjan Nag
Nilanjan Nag
also.
has said MR.
Absolutely.
Mr. Ramnath
Yeah.
Pai has said medical representative.
Absolutely. Everybody is right. And the experience people have with their brand is in the hands of the person whom you pay the least. And that is the medical representative. Undoubtedly. The experience doctors have with their companies in the hands of the medical representative, the person you pay the least. What is the big lesson here? The big lesson which we learn here, training the people who are the interface with the doctors, giving them top class training is one of the important components of pharma leadership. Now, coming back to the 3-block war. What is that 3-block war which was proposed by General Charles Turlac? He says, the future of the army is in the hands of the privates, not in the generals back home. Not with the generals back home. Translate this to pharma. The future of any pharma organization is in the hands of the medical reps, the frontline leaders, and not the C-suite back home in the head office. General Charles T talks about the 3 blocks symbolize different types of operations in different spaces. Humanitarianism, peacekeeping, and mid-intensity conflict. Humanitarian help, peacekeeping, and mid-intensity conflict. I'll explain this elaborately. But before I do that, strategic Jawans are trained on the 3-block warfare. Full military operations, humanitarian aid, and peacekeeping. One of the most terrorist-infected state in the country is Jammu and Kashmir. And in Srinagar, there is a very notorious place in the heart of the city called Lal Chowk. And Lal Chowk has been always the center of all attacks by the terrorists. So what do you find? At Lal Chowk, you find full military action. At the same time, these very Jawans, they render humanitarian aid at the nearby hospitals. And at the same time, in the remaining city of Srinagar and in the Kashmir Valley, the same soldiers are responsible for peacekeeping. That is the 3-block war. We all remember what happened in Mumbai in 26/11/2008, attacked by the terrorists from Pakistan. Whole of Bombay was under siege, particularly South Bombay. And this picture from Taj Mahal Hotel burning, is very, very famous. What happened on 26/11/2008? There was full military action at South Bombay. At the same time, these very people, they also rendered humanitarian aid. South Bombay is many hospitals, whether it's Just Look Hospital, Breach Candy Hospital, Kambala Hill Hospital, JJ Hospital, Bombay Hospital, all the injured be taken to these hospitals. Humanitarian aid was rendered by these very soldiers who on one side, they were fighting the terrorists. And at the same time, peacekeeping in the remaining city or rest of Bombay city, that was also very, very, very important. And the same soldiers, the same police people who are doing that, that is the three-block war which Charles Krolak talks about. One last question. Who in the hierarchy needs to be empowered the most? The brand manager, the first line manager, the finance manager, or the supply chain manager? Who in the hierarchy of a pharma company needs to be the most empowered person?
Mr. Fukran Mohammed has said first line manager.
Very good. Any other responses?
Mr. Nilanjan Nag has also said first line manager.
Absolutely, you're on the right track. We are all on the right
Mr.
track
Ashish
here.
Gupta, first line. Mr. Pankaj Srivastav has.
Wow. Great.
It's all the
And
first
good.
line managers.
Great,
Mr. Ramnath Pai,
great.
Ritesh Raman
So happy
Sharma.
to hear this. So happy to hear this. Coming back to Mumbai, South Mumbai, the three-block warfare. What is the three-block warfare for the 21st century? Today, calling doctors and pharmacists hostile conditions. Just like the soldiers who work in hostile conditions, medical representatives and the field managers, they call on the doctors and pharmacists in hostile conditions. They ward off competition for which they use digital marketing, humanitarian aid through patient centricity. There is so much similarity between the three-block war which General Charles Krolak proposed and what we in the pharma industry are doing day in and day out today. We are also fighting a three-block warfare. Our strategic Javans, who are the strategic Javans? They are our own medical representatives and the field managers. Therefore, our strategic Javans, they have to be trained on calling and doctors and pharmacists in hostile conditions. They have to be trained in patient-centric marketing and digital marketing skills. Our strategic Javans, they must be empowered. Our strategic Javans, they need to be empowered. See this. This was a picture sent to me by my friend Rajat Shah, who's present in this meeting today. These were the medical representatives who were meeting the doctors somewhere in July, August 2020 during the peak of COVID. This is the hostile conditions our colleagues are working in today. What does Krolak's law further say? Leaders are ultimately judged by the quality of leadership reflected in their subordinates. Very important statement. Leaders are judged by the quality of leadership reflected in their subordinates. Ensuring that the frontline people make the right decisions is the leader's primary responsibility. Or rather, I would say that is the primary responsibility of the C-suite. Make them mentally tough, convert them to knowledge workers, and empower them. I'll end my presentation with a short story of the Second World War. Germany, the Führer or Hitler, he had the ambition of ruling the entire world. And his first target was the neighboring country, Paris, France. And Paris was air-bombed day in and day out. The Führer ultimately gave an order, now let us capture Paris. And the troops were sent to capture Paris. But to capture Paris, you had to cross the river Seine. Without crossing the river Seine, you could not enter Paris. But there was a big hurdle. There were a number of bridges on the river Seine through which the troops could enter Paris. The German troops could enter Paris. The military command, the headquarters military command presumed, like all prudent enemies, the French would have blown off all the bridges on the river Sien. So the military command, they issued an order: capture the home banks, capture the bridges on the home bank. That was done. But on one of the bridges, a young lieutenant, he observed that the bridge was not blown. He examined the bridge very carefully. There were no mines, and he was excited, and he ran to the colonel, the commanding field officer, and he told the colonel, Colonel sir, this bridge is intact, there are no mines, and we can cross it safely. The colonel gave a hearty laugh, looked down at the soldier and said, that's the difference, my friends, between me, who has 20 years of experience, and you, just a lad of 2 years of experience in the army. Do you read what the command is from the high command from the military headquarters? Capture the home banks. And that is what we have done. So don't cross the bridge. The poor lieutenant, he was disappointed. But when this news reached the military headquarters, you know what happened? The colonel was immediately summoned to the headquarters and he was court-martialed. He was court-martialed. And you know why he was court-martialed? The colonel was court-martialed. Listen to me very carefully. The colonel was court-martialed for obeying orders of the military headquarters. He was court-martialed for obeying the orders of the military headquarters. The Führer, the Hitler himself who signed the order, said, I have not made you command a field force. I have not made you a field officer for not knowing when not to obey the orders from the military high command. I have not made you a field officer for you not to know when can you disobey the orders. You had a golden chance. You could have easily crossed the river Seine and marched towards Paris, and that would have been a great moral booster for all the other Germans, and you have failed in your duty. In warfare, if you're not able to get orders from the headquarters, assume what the orders would be, and then act accordingly. You have miserably failed, and he was court-martialed. What is that big lesson we learned from such a wicked man? The big lesson we learned from this wicked man: empower the people on the front line. Empower the people on the front line. Empower your medical representatives. Empower your first line. Empower your field managers, because they are the best people who know what is going on in the marketplace, not somebody sitting in the C-suite. To summarize, empower frontline and show your leadership mettle. Prepare for the 3-block war. Transit to patient centricity, the natural outgrowth of H2H marketing. Thank you very much.
Arpan, unmute.
Arpan, you are
Arpan,
muted.
unmute.
I will just add one line before Arpan takes over. Mr. Vivek, it was a fantastic presentation and fantastic deliberation. But there is a gift for you today, which you are not aware that your guru is watching you today. Dr. Ganesh Nayak is there in webinar.
Whoa,
and he's appreciating you a lot.
Oh,
A
that's
great
really
gift on
a
Teachers' Day
great
to
gift
you,
for me. That's a
Mr.
great
Vivek.
gift for me.
Over to Arpan.
Thank you so much, sir. Vivek, sir, that was really a wonderful deliberation. And in fact, you added so many new dimensions to this pharmaceutical industry, especially for the frontline workers, the medical representatives and the line managers, when you actually compared them with the armed forces in action. In fact, they really are taking the conditions that has happened to this planet, the way the first line managers and the representatives are taking on the field. It really reminds us of the different strategies the armed forces take. Just to make a small synopsis of what you said, sir, the language of marketing is borrowed from the armed forces. And you highlighted about the guerrilla marketing, where you gave a wonderful example of ghadi and surf. Then you said about the strategic alliance, that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, which you applied with Januvia and Galvas. With the blitzkrieg strategy, which you applied with Septran in case of co-trimaxazole. Fantastic, sir. The flanking strategy, which was so well executed by mankind. Then you had the Karl von Clausewitz strategy, which was a strength of strategy is always simplicity, which was exhibited in the Mahabharata. The blue ocean strategy, and why not? The red oceans are already saturated. So it is time to have a war without actually fighting. And Field Marshal Manekshaw said that yes man is the most dangerous man in the world. So try to discard the yes man. And of course, the Krulak's law, the brand is in the hand of the person who are probably paid the least. And the examples that you have given are superlative, right from the airlines booking personnel to the hotel reception staff to the stewards in the restaurant. So they were exceptional. Then the three-block war, that is the future of the army, is in the hands of the privates in the field and not in the hands of the generals at home. And similarly, for the pharmaceutical industry, the future of the company is in the hands of the MRs and in the pharmaceutical industry and the line managers. And that is where you highlighted the importance of training. And in fact, if I can say another line on this, it is said that we should train our employees so well that they can leave the organization, but we must treat them well enough that they do not want to leave the organization. So that should be what exactly training and HR in a company should be all about. So the challenges in the 21st century, that calling doctors in hostile conditions, warding up competition, that is because of the phygital marketing and patient centricity. Now the strategic Jawan needs to be empowered, and Krulak's law of leaders said that be mentally tough, have knowledge workers, and be empowered. And Vivek sir, you so wonderfully concluded your presentation with an exceptional story of the Second World War, which was empower the people on the front line. So that is always for the MRs and the first line managers who have been the crusaders as far as bringing sales in the field are concerned in this hostile condition. So thank you so much, Vivek sir, for this wonderful deliberation. And on Teachers' Day, sometimes it always becomes very important that the coaches do not actually change, but allow their coaches to continue the way they are. And I am pleasantly reminded of one small story which Sachin Tendulkar said regarding his illustrious coach, Mr. Ramakant Achrekar, that when Sachin started playing cricket, it was with the bat of his elder brother Anil, who was slightly taller than him. So the bat that Anil used, it was a bit larger for Sachin. So he used to hold the bat with a grip which was lower down. So one day Achrekar sir told him that he should take the grip of the bat a bit higher so that he can have a better control on his shots. But what actually happened, Achrekar sir observed that when Sachin had changed the grip, he was not having that control on his cover drives, right? So once again, Achrekar sir told him to go back to what he was actually doing. So this reminds me of something that coaches, mentors, trainers, L&D managers, they should not always think of changing. Sometimes staying the way they are helps us a lot. Thank you so much, Vivek sir. Thank you so much, the entire panel. And it is over to Yashwant sir to take the next part of this session.
Thank you very much, Arpan. Thank you very much. lot of learning from Vivek sir. Now quickly we'll go to Hitesh Preti sir to introduce our second speaker, Vijayan sir. Hitesh sir, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Ashton. Thank you very much. However, before introducing Mr. Vijendran, I would like to acknowledge our audiences in YouTube as well as in Facebook. Dr. Ganesh Nayak is there. Mr. Prashant Menon is there. We have Mr. Aruman Arsan. We have Mr. Rajas Saha, Satish Pandey, Tinu John, Mr. Amitesh Misra, Mr. Vishal Chandra is there from Germany. Then Mr. Vidyasagar Sharma is there from Tanzania. Mr. Om Prakash Misra. So we have a lot of viewers who are appreciating and who are involved in today's deliberation. And you will take their questions later on. Welcome, Mr. Vijendran. Mr. Vijendran, Venugopal Vijendran is having more than 4 decades of experience. He started his career as a medical representative with Wockhardt, and then the major part was with Cipla, then Ranbaxy, and Mr. Vijendran was head and director marketing of Boots, now the Abbott, at the age of 32. So he reached at the top level of his career at the early age of 32, and since then he is heading some or other organization, Ranbaxy, Unichem, Orchid, Alchem, and Intas. This is how he has moved in his career. Mr. Vijendran is a graduate from Jamnalal Bajaj Institute in Marketing, and I worked with him, so I know he's a value-based, principle-centered, people-focused leader, and he work on basics. He will never ask the sale on 30th, but he will ensure that from 1st to 25th, people are working in the field so that their numbers are met on 31st. Such a dedicated person. I know he lost his father when Pyrox was being launched. So he done the last rites, and then he came back, and then he continued his briefing meetings, and then he again went to that 12th or 13th day for the last rite. So such over person you will find rarely in the industry in today's area. Welcome, sir. Welcome too much over to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Hitesh. Those were very kind words. They brought back some memories of what happened in my earlier careers. Thank you very much. And Vivek, it was a very, very enlightening session to hear you on the armed forces and its relevance in pharmaceutical industry. What I will do is, I'm not going to share any presentations with you. I'm going to talk based on my past 18 months experience and what are the critical learnings that I've had, which I would like everyone to follow in the days to come, and that can possibly be the approach that we need to take. Very rightly put, and very exemplary work that the medical rep empowerment has been the critical. I would go a step slightly off track to what Vivek propagated, and I would say that while we do all these things in terms of empowerment, the one point which we need to empower the people is the power of execution. At the end of the day, the rep is an embodiment of translating strategy into action, tactically and factually. And therefore, he has to be smart on when it comes to executing aspects of business strategy. And that business strategy which gets formulated needs to have a plowback mechanism from the field to assimilate all the latest developments, which means you also need to make your head office people work like medical reps in the market to get an understanding as to what exactly is happening at the customer front. Very rightly said, that piece of paper with your brand written in it is the reason we all exist. And that piece of prescription is the first sign of what happens to each of us. And that, from my window, is very clearly indicating a very specific, relevant part called as engaging the customer to your business is what we all lead a life for in the company. For example, the finance man, the supply chain man, everybody gets involved in engaging the customer and helping the rep to generate that prescription. So an organization's purpose is to engage a customer fruitfully for its business. And that is where I would believe all of us play a very critical role. In the last 18 months, and I would not like to dwell too much on the industry past, industry future, I would only like to say the adaptations that we have had to do as a company, as a business, as a protocol is very critical for us to understand that is the basis on which we will have business generation taking place in the days to come. To do that, very critically, what we did as an organization is very simple. One, we said, because the customer is not meeting the field force due to the pandemic, we need to change our approach. When Vivek showed that first slide of one of the reps standing on the road detailing to a doctor on the first floor, that was a rep from Altus division of Intas promoting Ceftas to a doctor on the first floor in Calcutta. And that came as a very viral post across the industry. Some good, some bad. Vivek has used it in a very proactive way to say how the rep has adapted himself. Many pundits of the industries tried to decry our company and said that even at this time, why are you making your people go and work like this? It's not advisable and things of that nature. But what is a learning out of that is the very first thing, that communication is the point which migrates a non-prescribing customer or a non-engaged customer of a company to a prescribing stroke engaged customer. And therefore, I had like to talk now largely on communication aspects, which has undergone dramatic changes during the last 18 months. The way companies have approached meetings, the way companies have approached conferences. You would not believe leading conferences have gone online. The way you and I are talking now online, the way medical conferences have gone online, and that has been one paradigm shift that has happened. And in this paradigm shift, the critical elements that we have had to follow are three folds. I would put them as the 3 R's of adaptation. R for Roger, yeah? The 3 R's of adaptation relating to the customers and communication. The first R is remarkable communication. Remarkable in the sense because you have gone into an era of pandemic. A customer is scared to meet you. Customer does not want to encourage you to come inside. He feels that he has to protect himself, his family, and his livelihood, and he is not giving you time. You want to engage the customer, and therefore, all you're left with is an ability to communicate to the customer, whether it is digital, video, shouting, yelling, calling across, making a phone call, whatever it is a communication that's left with you. Therefore, I would say the first part of the communication, which the companies have had to focus on, very, very relevant, is to give remarkable communication. That remarkable communication should be, very, very focused, creative, and persistent. And that is what has enabled the customers to remain with organizations. Very secondly, I would say is a very, very important element called as the relevant communication. Now, the relevant communication can be split into 2 parts: relevant to your products, relevant to the situation at large. in an exceptional circumstances, I would ask you to keep relevant information to your products aside and talk about relevant information to the situation so that the customer is engaged, reinforced, and he is given a lot of understanding. For example, the concept of COVID was so new and so remarkably different that doctors did not know anything. So what we did as an organization was we had a constant, engagement with some of the leading institutes of the world in terms of the science, in terms of education, in terms of information. And every day we were getting not less than 20 to 30 different pieces of communication, either related to cardiology, neurology, orthopedics, gastroenterology, ophthalmology, you name it, and we were getting it. And before it could even be available to the open public, we were sending links and snapshots of these articles to the customers without a single relevant data point connected to your product. So what were we doing? Besides talking about remarkable communication, we were trying to bring about a lot of relevant communication to the customers during those pandemic times. The concept, what happened? Doctors did not get bored because they knew if this company is sending something, it is going to be yesterday, which has come out of the oven, and therefore I need to read. And that was the and you would not believe their empowerment will not work. Their direction will work. Reinforcement will work. So you had the medical director, company's head, and SBU heads who were scanning these articles, picking up those relevant subjects of yesterday, published yesterday, and sent out to all the people to share with their doctors the next morning at 9. And I can guarantee you by 11:30, almost all the 1.5 lakh doctors had received these set of communications. So you had articles published last night, and next morning we reached to all the people. And this was happening on a daily basis. So we were not detailing CEFTAs or a Hyphenac or anything else. We were providing information on the latest developments, what happened, how, and the customers were getting engaged. So that was the point of remarkable and relevant communication. And I would now top it all with the third element called as a reinforced communication. That means in this paradigm of a situation which is away from a normal situation, you had to make sure that you provide something which gets reinforced over time as a continuity, as a next engaged form, and as something which brings about the process of trying to tell the customer there is not just remarkable and relevant communication that I'm giving you, I'm also reinforcing that communication with consistently different paradigms coming from the scientific bodies at the marketplace. So in a paradigm situation where a lot of changes are taking place at the market, uncertain, I would actually link this to a force majeure situation, which is not controllable by any one of us, and the pandemic happened. And therefore, at such times, you have to respond differently and not in the traditional manner of cost cutting and spending money on salaries. What do I do? We realized that because of the pandemic, there was a lockdown, people were not going out in the field. We could not allow them to go in the field. So as an organization, we were not spending money on allowances. Those allowances we plowed into getting into engagement of scientific data and giving it to them. The first reinforcement that we gave the field is that we are using you as a media to first communicate with the customer. So to reinforce Vivek Hattangadi's point, the medical rep still continues to be the uppermost body of media for a company to communicate with its customers. Why it was important to continue with them is customers have a comfort zone built into them when they talk to a person with whom they are very familiar. Suddenly, a position or a power cannot determine a proximity to a customer. So that is the key learning that we got as an organization, and we enforced dramatic principles of the remarkable, relevant, and reinforced communication across the business segments to all the people. And we kept it very simple to say that during the pandemic time, I cannot go and engage the doctor physically, but I need to engage the doctor for the purpose of communication. And from the purpose of communication, I will draw in the three paradigms of remarkable, relevant, and reinforced communication. So we simply focused on these elements, keeping the media as the same. And we believe that that media is the medical rep. And the tools that the media used were things like the smartphone, things like Microsoft Teams meeting, things like Zoom meeting, things like, engaging on to webinars. So we use different tools through the same media and passed on a communication following the principles of the 3R. And that became the basis on which we sustained our business. And just to give all of you here, yes, we also followed the term or the pattern which most of the companies followed. I don't deny that. We did not capitalize the way many of the good companies could capitalize on COVID-related products. We did not focus on them. We said we will stick to our basics because these are opportunistic businesses which are good for a company, while once the opportunity goes, I should not have lost focus on my core brands, and my core brands is what will drive business growth. So we continue to focus on all the elements of neurology, psychiatry, cardiology, diabetes care, endocrinology, gynecology, ophthalmology, you name it, urology, nephrology, orthopedics, rheumatology, and we continue to talk about our core brands. So once the recovery phase started, it was our brand which once again caught the eye very easily, and we came back to a business of normalcy very quickly. So I would always advise in the leadership phase for any organization to understand the rudimentary principles that govern the transaction of the business. What translates business outcomes, and what are the activities that you do to achieve those? And from there, pick up one or two simplistic elements which are repetitive, ongoing on a daily basis, and bring in to the fore the systematic approach of sharpening those areas. And that's what we did essentially from the communication front, and all the 7,000 people in the company, field force, and many of the business leaders just focused on these elements, kept a day-to-day control on what's happening, ensured that the execution takes place very well, and as a consequence, the adaptation to a new changing order began to evolve. And therefore, the learning for us is, as a protocol, we have written down these steps very clearly, that should there be any abnormal situation that comes in the days to come, we know what are the areas to look at and how to approach them in the process. So that would be the key I would like to share with all of you people today. And everyone seeing this, broadcast. And I once again thank LPC, Hitesh, for having reached out and requesting me to come and be present with him. And thank you once again. Been a great learning for me from the concept of armed forces and business. And I also will like to, go through the wonderful session of Sunil, where he is likely to give wonderful lessons on what worked and what did not work and what adaptations one needed to make. Thank you very much and have a wonderful time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. As usual, so simple, your way of explanation and telling. It was a great learning from you, and power of execution, which is what you told that has given the positive things during the pandemic. engaging the customer great way. If some article is getting published at 12 night and you are giving at 11 a.m. to Indian doctor, that was great. And that too 1.5 lakh doctor by 11 a.m. And the paradigm shift definitely now our paradigm is shifted from offline or physical to online, and WhatsApp, Zoom, Microsoft Meeting and webinar that was used during this pandemic period. And for the information of viewers, Intas, the company which Mr. Vijendran is heading, that has jumped from 11th rank to 7th rank, if I'm correct, during these 14 months of pandemic. So the consistent
not 14 months, last
communication.
4 years. Not 14 months, last 4 years.
Okay. but definitely during pandemic also it has grown.
Yes.
It has grown without focusing on opportunistic products.
Yes.
So it was a major brand. It is a core brands which have grown even during the pandemic period. And the 3R concept was fantastic concept, very, very relevant and very practical. Remarkable communication, relevant communication, and reinforced communication. And the way it was done by the company during these 14 months, that was fantastic. And with that, you have enforced your field force. You have engaged the customer in a nice way. And customer must be waiting to get the Intas's newsletter or every morning, because the pandemic was the concept, the subject was so new and nobody was aware anything about the COVID. So whatever new thing, if as a company you are giving, you have taken over other companies who were doing different tactics or different studies that time. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your time. And we will take some questions if there are a bit later. Over to Mr. Yashwant.
Thank you very much, Hitesh sir. Thank you very much, Vijendran sir. It is a lot of learning everywhere. We at LPC are in a dilemma what to do, whether we should take the appreciation, comments and questions from the chat box, or we should go to the next speaker who is the powerhouse of learning. So let us go to the next speaker first, and definitely we'll come to the viewers because a lot of appreciation and learning coming, but we cannot wait for the powerhouse to remain silent. So we will definitely listen from Sunil Deshpande sir, and we'll take all the relevant questions because a lot of questions and appreciations are coming. I will just, before handing over to ICS Burma sir for the introduction, I will just have a recognition of all the people who are appreciating the effort. Mr. Snehal Nayak, he is the training head in Unicam. I have closely worked with him. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Samanta Chakrabarti, Arvind Gupta, Ashok Kumar, Anshika Singh, Hitesh Kumar, Sandeep Singh, Kavya Pratap Royal, and Snehal Nayak, I told. Thank you. Prashant Menon sir has also shared a lot of things. He liked that 3R concept. The 3R with example helped at what you did at Intas. Thank you, VP sir. Then Mr. Prashant Chandra from this Tino John. Thanks, Vijay sir, for a great insight on communication. Communication skill is essential to effective leadership. The leader must be able to share knowledge and ideas to transit a sense of urgency and enthusiasm to others. They are the relevant communication in the language of leadership. Thank you very much, Tinu, for sharing this insight. So a lot of Ramanath V. Pai sir, again, well said, Vijendran sir, regarding relevant communication. I remember the statement saying, sell yourself and brand shall sell of its own. Thank you very much, Ramnath Pai sir. We are having a lot of appreciation. Thank you very much, sir. Now over to ICS Verma sir for the next session.
Yeah, thanks, Yashwant. So we had wonderful sessions, undoubtedly. And yeah, so now we have the privilege to introduce one of the lifelong student and the learner, the chairperson of Center of Excellence in Healthcare and the associate professor in study of marketing and strategy at SIES College, and the chairperson at Pharmaceutical and Biotechs, and advisory member of International Society of Telemedicine. He is none other than Dr. Sunil Deshpande. So welcome, Dr. Sunil, to LPC. So Dr. Sunil is a faculty at both SIEs as well as KJ Somaya Institute of Management. And also he's a great strategy thinker in pharmaceutical industry. He is a PhD holder from MGM University, and he also had his postgraduate diploma in medico and legal systems in Symbiosis International University, as well as in NIMS. He has done his postgraduate diploma in digital and strategy. Welcome, Dr. Sunil. Over to you on the topic of leadership and the strategies.
Sir, please unmute. Sunil sir, please unmute.
Yeah. Sunil sir, you need to unmute.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes, now audible.
Thank you so much, Mr. Verma, for the kind introduction. And thank you once again to the LPC team for this kind invitation for the LPC-72 topic on leadership. Actually, am I audible and visible?
Yes, sir. Both.
Yes,
Sir.
yes,
Clearly
yes.
audible.
Yeah.
You're audible.
When you are the third speaker, the job of you becomes very challenging for two reasons. That you are, when you do well, you will be remembered, especially when you have speakers like Professor Vivek as well as Mr. Vijendran. But in case you do not do well, then probably you also have the risk of getting forgotten. So it is a challenging task for me, but I have accepted the challenge like various other challenges. And I would be pleased to share with all of you my thoughts today morning on this particular topic. Just give me a minute before I will just share my presentation. Of course, this presentation is there not for basically any kind of teaching, but just to maybe trigger my thoughts.
So there is a share content or share screen on the green. You can just use it.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
it's visible now. It's coming.
It's visible? Yeah,
it's coming. Yeah, absolutely visible.
Thank you. So I would be talking on excellence in leadership and perspectives and learnings. Now, leadership has been a topic which has been discussed in various forums, and there is no dearth of material on this particular subject area. But what intrigued me is that let us try to explore slightly deeper into this aspect, and let's have a look at certain perspectives of successful leaders as well as what we can derive from them. So
make it full screen, sir.
Yeah. The views which are expressed in this presentation are my individual views, and they do not represent of my employers. And I'm speaking and presenting here in my individual capacity and not as a representative of SIS or any of its affiliates. And this presentation is only for an academic purpose and does not have any political intentions, neither to promote any individual, organization, party, religion, or country. And the earlier slide, the first slide, was merely for identification. So warm greetings for Teachers Day 2021 to all of you. And I bow to all my teachers who have opened my eyes, blinded by the darkness of ignorance with enlightening rays of knowledge. Vidvatvam cha nrupatvam cha na eva tulle kadachana swadeshe pujyate raja vidvana sarvatra pujyate. That's one of my beliefs, that kingship and learning is not comparable anytime. A king gets more respect from his own country, whereas a learned person gets it from everywhere, derived from Indian scriptures. I have divided my presentation, my talk, into two parts. And the first part will deal with the perspective. So let's try to actually explore and understand excellence in leadership. Now, before I actually start, of course, this has been for the pharmaceutical industry, but I'm a believer that one should actually try to open their eyes and see beyond your own industries and try to imbibe, what is good and what is great in some other industries as well. So that's what I try to do. And I try to look beyond pharma and explore some other verticals, some other industries. So before I start, I would just like to know from you, from the audience, that what attributes of a leader appeals to you the most in today's context? What attributes of a leader appeals to you the most in today's context? Have we got some responses, Mr. Yashwant?
I'm just following, sir. Empathy, sir.
Empathy.
Empathy from Muhammad and Ramnath Paiser say empathy is the most important of it. Then Arumugam says people-oriented person.
Okay.
People-oriented person. That is what I have got the response. So empathy is one which everyone is saying. And another is the leader should be people-oriented.
Great. Great. People-oriented.
Yes.
Great.
And integrity, sir. One comes, integrity is one of the very important point.
Thank you.
Empathy,
Thank you for the...
integrity, and communication. Ajish Shah says empathy, integrity, and communication. Prashant sir says inspirational. Leaders should be inspirational.
Fantastic.
John, empathy.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Great. 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 So I'm going to answer this quiz a bit later in the talk. Let us try to explore what is excellence. So could it be greatness? Yes. Could it be extraordinary? Yes. Could it be superiority? Yes. Could it be distinction? Yes. Could it be outstanding? Yes. So excellence is something which is not ordinary. So what could be excellence in leadership? And when I asked this question to myself, and the answer which I found, which was convincing, which I could actually, I would say that, yes, that's something which I would really stand for, or this is something which convinces me, is excellence in leadership would be leadership with a purpose or leadership for a cause. We have numerable examples of leaderships across various leaders, and they have been exhibiting it. But what appeals to me is leadership with a purpose or leadership for a cause. What could be the importance of this? Why did I feel it that way? Number one, the cause a leader represents or the stance which a leader takes is concerned with getting a direction. It could be a direction for your territory, for a first line sales manager, or a second line sales manager for a region, or it could be direction for an organization, for an SBU head, or it could be getting a direction for an organization, for the managing director or CEO of a company, or it could be getting a direction for a minister or a chief minister of a state, or it could be getting a direction for a prime minister for a nation. So the first reason I felt that this is something which really is very important, because it is critical to be led into the right direction. And you have numerous examples of that when the leader actually is successful in leading the population or the subordinates into the right direction. It is nothing but success. The second important reason, what I felt, was that the cause a leader represents or a stance which a leader takes is concerned with impacts. Okay, the decision is impacting on the department. It could be a HOD, it could be a head of the department. As I said, it could be an organization, it could be the entire industry, it could be the city, it could be the state, it could be a region, or it could be a country, or even that, beyond that, it could be global. So the second reason is the possibility of a large scale impact. And mind you, the impacts can be beneficial or detrimental also. And again, you have a lot of examples where there has been beneficial effects of the leadership, or even detrimental, throwing the entire country into a very bad kind of a shape. So these are some of my inspirations on the perspectives, that is excellence in leadership. I have got around a few examples from the various industries which I mentioned to you. The first example which came to my mind is, of course, Chhatrapati Sri Shivaji Maharaj. And the purpose or the cause of the leader was only one, and that was Swaraj, more than 400 years back. The second leader was Mahatma Gandhi, and the purpose and the cause of the leader is only one, that was resistance through peace as well as non-violence. Another one which I really have a great respect as a leader is Padma Vibhushan Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw. And the purpose and the cause of the leadership of Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, it could be more than one reasons. In some cases, like over here, it is discipline, it is moral courage and fairness. If you study Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, you can actually have so many examples which attribute his leadership across these 3 points in a major fashion. He had the moral courage to talk to the Prime Minister at that time, Srimati Indira Gandhi, on the Bangladesh war. Of course, he is known for the discipline, and also very important for a leader, he always practiced fairness in his judgments. The next in my list was Padma Vibhushan Sir Ratan Tata. And the purpose and the cause of the leader over here is growth in business is possible by adhering to values. And this is something which really is very close to my heart. That do you have to sacrifice your values to grow in personal life or well as in professional life? And I think, at least that's my thinking, yes, you can grow in, even if you adhere to the values. And that is what something appeals to me the most. The next in the list is Sun Tzu. Professor Vivek talked about it. And I am a great fan of Sun Tzu, who was the Chinese military general somewhere around 550 to 500 BC. And after you study Sun Tzu, you realize that the entire subject of strategy has got a lot of bearings from the thoughts of Sun Tzu. And even today, across various spheres, if you really want to have a good strategy, I think Sun Tzu's teachings or Sun Tzu's learnings really are very, very important. So the purpose over here is strategy as well as strategic planning. The next in my list is Bharat Ratna Dr. Abdul Kalam. Over here, the purpose of the cause of the leader is human morals, nobility, and ethics in management. And that is again something which I really have a lot of respect, that a leader is basically transparent, and his leadership, his or her leadership should appeal to all, especially when he or she follows the ethics in management, as well as for the businesses which he or she leads. The next in my list is Dr. K.B. Hedgewar, the founder of RSS. And over here, the purpose of the cause of the leader is only one at that time, and that was Hindu Rashtra. And today, you have the followers of the RSS not only in India, but globally. The next in my list is Padma Bhushan Dr. Y.K. Hamid, the founder of CIPLA. And the purpose and the cause of the leader over here is his humanitarian leadership, which was exhibited a few years back, especially for his role in supplying the AIDS medicines to the African countries. Of course, this discussion will not be complete without the inclusion of Steve Jobs. And over here, the purpose or the cause of the leader is only one, and that was innovation. The next in my list is Padma Vibhushan, Mr. N.R. Narayan Murthy. And over here, I would actually attribute this for trust before performance and the value systems in an organization. And this is something which will go a long way for the organizations. The next is Padma Bhushan Dr. K. Anji Reddy. And I would attribute the purpose of leadership of Dr. Anji Reddy for one reason, and that was research for the benefit of the human population. The next would be Mr. Nelson Mandela. And the purpose of the leadership over here was only one, and that was anti-apartheid, apart from the other aspects. I consider Gautam Buddha as a great leader because there was one purpose of his leadership, and that was a way out of the sufferings of the entire human beings. So the leadership was attributed not for his own purpose, but for the purpose of the entire human population. An example of servant leadership would be Abraham Lincoln. And over here, integrity as well as servant leadership would be a great cause of leadership of Mr. Abraham Lincoln. And his role in the emancipation of the slavery system in the America, of course, is known to all. Another example of a leader is Mother Teresa. Is a great example of servant leadership. Of course, I need not introduce him. Everybody knows him. And there's only one purpose or the cause of Professor Dr. Philip Kotler, and that is marketing, the marketing guru. Another leader whom I really have a lot of respect is in the area of branding, and that is Professor David Acker. Bill Gates, for the purpose of deep knowledge and focused approach. Professor Dr. S.B. Mujumdar, the founder of Symbiosis, which started off, in one small, I would say, plot, one room plot in Pune, and today it is one amongst the top global universities. And over here, the leader had only one purpose, which is also implemented today by the Symbiosis family, that the world is one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, for one cause of leadership, that is social reforms. Steve Waugh, for self-belief, strengthening the self-belief as well as the belief of his team colleagues. And he is one of the, or rather, I'll not say one, but he's the most successful captain in cricket across the world. So there is one common event to bind the examples which I just talked about, which is actually beautifully captured by Sadhguru, who says that leadership is not about dominance. It is not about power over people, but leadership is for dedication and sacrifice for a cause which is beyond oneself. So if you try to find a simile between these 21 examples which I talked just now, you can see that each of the example actually fulfills the criteria of leadership which is laid down by what Sadhguru said. So before I proceed, I would like to ask the audience that, of course, this list is not a complete list. These are some of the leaders that appeal to me the most, and respecting the time that what I have churned it down to the 21 which I just now showed it to you. But of course, there could be some leaders which come to your mind and which could fulfill this criteria. And I would like to know from the audience that which leader would you like to add to this list, if you have anyone to be shared with all of us. Mr. Yashwant?
Vivekananda, sir.
Swami
Mr. Arumugam
Vivekananda.
says Vivekananda. Yes,
Swami
Vivekananda.
Vivekananda.
Great.
Swami Vivekananda. Then Indira Gandhi, someone says he's also a leader with a lot of strong mentor. We can learn from her. Then we are waiting for the response, sir.
Sure.
Indira Nooyi. Indira Nooyi.
Nooyi. Yes.
Yeah. Tino John says Indira Nooyi.
Narendra Modi. Hutesh sir has told Narendra Modi also a leader. We can learn
Yes.
from.
Subhash
Then
Chandra
Subhash
Bose.
Chandra Bose.
Okay.
Subhash Chandra Bose also is a great leader.
MS Dhoni from
MS Dhoni.
Lokendra
Yes.
Paul. Yes.
Okay. I mean, I would just like to further add or maybe request you to also mention the attribute, the purpose or the cause for their leadership. No doubt, these are very relevant examples which you have suggested.
True, sir.
Thank you so much for your response. So moving on,
Yes.
I'll go to the part 2 of my talk, and that is, what do I learn from these? Before I go, maybe one more, I would say, quiz for you is, we have quite a few people from the professionals from the pharma industry. So can you name any one activity or objective that you can undertake in your headquarter or city for the benefit of the patients in any one therapy area of your company, which is beyond your, say, daily objectives to be fulfilled? Maybe for a medical representative, it is the number of doctor calls or the number of retail trade channel partners to be met on a particular day. So I would just request you to think on this, maybe not answer it immediately, but just think on this, that at least one activity or an objective which you can undertake in your own headquarter town or your city, wherever you stay, which would benefit, a patients in any one therapy area of your company.
Sir, we have got some response if you want.
Ajish Shah says
Yes.
free ECG camp. which
Free
he has,
ECG camp.
Yeah, in his territory.
And also, sir, breathe-free educators, the educating patients on how to take inhalers.
Okay, fantastic.
OPD camp. Arumugam says hypertension diabetic detection camp. Epilepsy camp in rural area, because in rural area, a lot of people are not aware about epilepsy. So that is a patient education and bringing patient to the mainstream of treatment.
Right, right. Surely. I would just request you to keep your answers, at least at this moment, in abeyance.
Sure.
And then, I would like to revert on these when I complete my talk. So the purpose or the cause of the leadership, I'm presenting to you 5 mantras. And just now the answers that what you gave, try to make these mantras, try to see if those answers are fulfilled by these 5 mantras. Is your purpose or cause of leadership absolutely unique? What is that one unique thing in your purpose of leadership? Now, patient education programs, they have been there since time, okay? Or it could be maybe diabetes detection camps or hypertension detection camps. Yes, it has been there. So what is the most unique thing in my purpose or cause of leadership? Is my leadership result oriented? Now, if you see these 21 examples, why did I select them? And of course, the ones which were suggested by you, there has been a certain result. Okay. And that result is in front of all of us, whether it is a birth of a new organization or whether it is leading a particular country into success in any particular area. So the result has been very evident in front of us. There has been an element of consistency. So the leaders which I presented to you have been consistent in their efforts and they did not deviate from their objectives. It has been a very, very, I would say, consistent in terms of the patience required to get the results. There has been a very strong belief in your thought process. And most important, it was beneficial to society at large. So that's one area which is something leaders can dedicate their purpose or cause of leadership. I was just trying to compare conventional leadership versus contemporary leadership. And conventional leadership could actually be leadership because of your hierarchy in an organization with a fancy designation. Your conventional leadership could be because of your net worth or legacy. Your conventional leadership could be because you are dominating by power, or the conventional leadership also goes with the wind. Today you are probably in a particular political party, and you try to follow maybe a different political party, whichever probably you feel is going to win the elections. And something which I call as herogiri, or flamboyance. Leadership is not flamboyance, or leadership is not the typical herogiri. Whereas if you see the contemporary leadership, something which I would like to subscribe to would be that the goals and the objectives should be chosen that are beyond himself or herself. And that is what comes out from these examples that what we just now I shared with you. The product management team in pharma can actually choose areas to focus that are beyond his or her brand. I need not have a horse vision. That's what I call. If you are actually managing maybe brands in the area of diabetes or hypertension or derma or whichever, probably you have an entire area which should be considered by you and not only focus on your particular brand or brands. Maybe the first, second, third line, as well as the sales managers could also look at beyond the formal relationships with his or her subordinates, if you really want to practice leadership for a cause. So the learning for me, I am presenting to you a 4Q model. If we want to practice leadership, which is for a purpose or for a cause, is I should ask this question to myself, that who am I? Which will give answers about my origin as well as the family tree. In other words, what would be my identity is something which I need to make it very clear. Who am I? The second question I need to ask to myself is, what am I? Which will answer a leader's functional capabilities, that what am I capable to do? Or what can I do? What can I do for my territory? What can I do for my brand? What can I do for my organization? What can I do for my SBU? What can I do for my state? What can I do for my region? What can I do for my country? And what benefits do I promise to the people, to the subordinates into these areas? The third is, for whom am I? That is, who is my target segment? So, whom do I represent? I think I should be very clear on this aspect. And the fourth and the last question is, why me? Why should I be considered as a leader? What could be my USP? Why should people and subordinates follow me? Do you have a very strong reason which fulfills the criteria which I just now laid down? So that's all from my side. And thank you so much for your attention. Over to you, Mr. Yashwant.
Thank you very much, sir. I think, yeah, you can just off the, yeah. I think it's really power-packed lessons on leadership for the new era. What I can say. So just I would like to summarize what you said on the purpose of leadership. Because most of the times, people lead by default or by design. But to know the purpose is very, very important, because you told two things. Like, one is a purpose, and through that purpose, how that is going to impact. And you have shared the examples of great leaders. Some of the examples like Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushans, Dr. Y.K. Hamid, Mahatma Gandhi ji, Chhatrapati Shivaji. So everybody has their purpose. That's why we still admire them as great leaders, because they identified their purpose and they lived for that purpose. And also, like, there are a few things which are very, very important to note from the lesson is, today, gone are those days where you can just do the herogiri. Now you have to be a servant leader, and you have to be a transformational leader, or you need to be a inspirational leader, because you need to inspire the teams with your purpose and with a great direction. Because I still remember, if you're going, going fast is not that important than the direction. If you're going fast in a wrong direction, that may sometimes lead to the problem rather than giving the benefits. So you need to know about the purpose and you need to have a right direction. And you are given 5 mantras. One is the uniqueness and the result-oriented, consistency of the purpose, and having a strong self-belief, and what benefits that is going to give the society on a larger scale. So these are the 5 mantras that you have told about the purpose of leadership. And you also discussed about the conventional versus contemporary leadership styles, which is really very relevant, especially during this pandemic. What we have seen is, before you are asking your people on the target, you can just check whether what is his mental status, what is his family status, because you are human before you are a marketer. And also you gave us the 4 Q models, which is first Q is, what is my identity? Who am I? And then what am I? How I'm going to, my benefits are going to give. And then who am I? What are my target segment? And finally, why me? Why people have to follow me, or why people have to respect me as a leader? So all these Qs, 4 Qs and 5 mantras, which is very, very relevant during this the transformation in pharmaceuticals. And there is a great learning across. Thank you very much, sir. Over to Yashwant.
Thank you very much, sir. A lot of learning, and very aptly you have summarized the entire session of Sunil, sir. What we can say, everywhere we are getting learning. Before going to question answer session, just 2 lines. Sar ko Vivek sir कह गए, विजयन sir कहे अनूठे, बचे खुचे को Dr. Sunil कह गए, अब कहे सो झूठे. We can say we have crossed all across. We have got leadership learning. Although learning is available everywhere, but when you learn from the masters who have conceptualized this concept, it is not only a treat to your ear, but also it adds to your wisdom. Really, we are fortunate to have all the 3 stalwarts of leadership learning today. So a lot of Ganesh sir has again said, good session. Congratulations, Vivek and team. Enough food for thought. Thank you very much, Ganesh Nayak sir. Devabrata Majumdar, excellent presentation. Sopan Nandi, Arubagam Arashan have appreciated. Very interactive session. Srinivasan Maurya, excellent session. A lot of appreciation we are getting. Thank you very much, all the viewers, for your active participation and sharing your thoughts. Over to our panelists for the question answer. I would like to go to Arpan, Hitesh sir, and ICS sir for the question answer session. Arpan,
there is
over
one
to
question.
you.
Yeah, one question came from Facebook.
Yes.
That's from Tinul John.
Yes.
This is for VV sir. So the biggest communication challenge we see among team and leaders are avoidance of difficult conversations. So is it so difficult to engage a critical conversation? So that's the question.
Vivian sir, unmute please.
So
Yes.
The question is,
Tino, very relevant and the right question to have asked. It is not difficult to engage into a difficult conversation. And my first rule when I get into any difficult conversation is I have a small piece of paper and I jot down what are the difficult subjects that I need to talk. And I try to look at those subjects with facts which corroborate those difficult conversations. So if you have a fact-based conversation, it is never difficult. But if you have a conjecture or a thought-based discussion, it will be very difficult. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Over to Arpan.
Yes. Thank you, Yashwant sir. I have 2 questions from Facebook. The first is from Mr. Nilanjan Nag. He has said that there is a problem of working with leaders like Hitler. They say something, they mean something, and expect something else. So how to deal with such leaders in the industry?
We can go to Vivek sir, and then others
Vivek,
can add value to this.
Yes, this inconsistency is something which is seen in many of our leaders, especially in the politics. When these kind of leaders, they are inconsistent, the trust on them goes down. And these leaders now need to build that trust. To build that credibility, they should be consistent. As far as Hitler is concerned, I have a little different point of view, but I would not like to discuss in this forum because I tell you, Hitler is one of my heroes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. The second question is from Mr. Ritesh Raman Sharma. Most of the first line managers, the KPIs are built on their performance, that is the sales numbers. And even if this first line managers are trained on coaching skills and other important things like how to manage their people, customer and business, there is a lack of momentum and rarely support by their superiors. So I would like to direct this question to Venugopal sir. Sir, if you can take us through this question.
See, lack of credibility always comes when you say something and you don't deliver it. And if the query that he is asking refers to leadership not delivering that level of support, then there is an issue on hand. You can't change your leader, okay? The leader has to change himself to provide that support. All you can do is bring forth a fact-based assessment of what are the expectations to deliver results and what are the support required to deliver results. And against those support required, you need to qualify what kind of support you have received, whether there are inputs that have come, whether there is training that is given, whether there is an engaged discussion that has happened. A couple of times you need to do this. And if it continues in the same line, you either be a whistleblower to change the leadership or you change the organization. You have to do a couple of things there. So at the end of the day, it is a team member's responsibility to point out to the leader areas of support required once, twice, 3 times, and then move on with the process of trying to see where you get proper support. Endlessly, you can't be associated with a leader who promises you support and does not deliver it to you.
Correct, sir. So either be a whistleblower or it's better to change the organization. So these are the 2 ways that in which we can deal with such leaders. Thank you so much.
After you articulate the support required a couple of times, not in the first time. Yeah.
Correct. So the benefit of doubt has to be given for the first few times, but if it doesn't work, then maybe we have to take the steps as you have said. Thank you. And there is one more. This is not a question. Mr. Prashant Menon sir has given a thanksgiving to Vivek sir. He has said that I'm hoping with such messages, companies begin to include more of FLM and frontline personnel in the decision-making process that involves customer-related strategy. Thanks, Vivek sir. So this was a message directed to Vivek sir. So over to you, ICS sir. You can take the next part.
Thanks, Arpan. And question again from Prashant Menon sir. This is to Sunil sir. So what comes first according to you? Define your purpose and build a strategy around it, or make purpose one of your strategies? By Prashant Menon sir to Sunil sir.
I think that's a very good question actually. And I would only say that it's not a question of choosing what comes first, but it's a question what is more significant at that given moment of time for what you represent. If you're representing an organization, I think you need to identify that critical area where the purpose is required. And then probably you can consider that as a purpose and a strategy to build over that. So it's not what comes first, but it's how you identify what is critical. And then, you build around that.
Can I add a point here, Sunil, with your permission?
Sure, sure.
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
Okay, Prashant, if I were to recollect Prahalad's famous description of strategy, strategy is a route map to attain a stated objective. If that hypothesis is true, embedded in the concept of the hypothesis of objective, a purpose would be besides and behind that, which means purpose brings out the objective, purpose brings out what you want to do, and strategy may define how you reach that objective. In a very simplistic way, I would look at it that way. But when there is a bit of a gray area between the two, then I would go by what Sunil says, trying to enmesh the two together and finding out the appropriate way.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One more question from Nimesh Bhatnagar. So it was more on empathy. So empathy is a great virtue of a leader, but a double-edged sword as well. So how to know when to attach and when to detach? This is to, I think you can, Vivek sir can answer this and then others can add value. Like
I'm really not very clear on the question why empathy is a double-edged sword. To me, empathy means basically feeling the feelings of the other people. And when you feel the feelings of the other people, you actually go into his shoes and start thinking like him. I just wanted to ask him a further question, but I don't know whether he does. Why does he feel that empathy is double-edged sword? If I can have an answer to that, maybe I'll be able to answer it more appropriately.
Yeah, Vivek sir, it will take some time to get the answer of this question. By that time, let me acknowledge few of our viewers who are there and who are appreciating our speakers. You, Dr. Sunil and Mr. Vijendran, Mr. Ajay Shah, Mr. Brian Fernandez, then Mr. Ritesh Kumar Sharma, Mr. Arvind Gupta, Ms. Madhuri Doshi, Abhishek Sawant, Hitesh Kumar, Ajay Rawat. Then we have Mr. Pankaj Srivastav, we have Mr. Ajay Shah again, Mr. Abid Hussain Siddiqui from DR Congo, Mr. Lokender Pal, Ms. Priyanka Singh. These four are ex-colleague of Mr. Vijendran from Ranbaxy Solas, Priyanka Singh, that time from Patna, Arvind Gupta, Jaunpur, Amitesh Misra, Kanpur, and Raman Atri again from Kanpur. Those all are sending regards to you, Mr. Vijendran. Now there is a question from Mr. Ajay Shah to Mr. Vijendran. What he's saying, I have a question to Mr. Vijendran, sir. In this pandemic, as a leader, we have started operating so much virtually that we don't even get an opportunity to reach out to our team physically, thus making it difficult to influence them or to have them in sync with organizational strategies. What additional qualities as a leader we should adopt to manage teams remotely? Very, very pertinent and very practical situation.
Yeah, Hitesh, see, these are not just pandemic related things that can happen. I can still remember, in the year 2005, we had one of those very famous deluges of floods in Bombay, where for a couple of days the city was closed down. And even at that time, the physical connect was so difficult, and you had to connect people through, the phones and whatnot. The important aspect is the customer should know that you are hungry to meet him, and you are unable to meet him today in the context of the environmental situation that has compelled you to remain where you are. If you are able to establish this in the interest of each other, then the virtual connect becomes the next best option to send across this concept of empathy. Just I will use the earlier question of empathy here. The customer also needs to know that you are empathizing with him in his inability to engage you in a conversation with him. And that empathy is very critical and very supposedly important for each other to know that you care for each other. In other words, empathy simply put, even I was a little taken aback from a double-edged sword point of view. Empathy is nothing but trying to understand another person from the shoes that he's wearing, and then try to go through the whole process and feel for it and provide solutions. So if you don't bring solutions in any engaged activity, whether you have empathy or you don't have empathy, or whether there is an environmental situation or there is no environmental situation, you begin to breed a lack of respect. So when you deal with a customer, you should be solution-centric, offering him options, a choice which the customer can choose. Then the reliability factor dramatically increases, and whether it is virtual, whether it is physical or digital, you will always win the game there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Very practical.
Can I just
answer.
Yes, Sunil sir.
respond
Yeah,
to a
Dr.
question
Sunil,
on
please.
empathy?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, sir, Sunil sir.
See, actually, even I agree with Professor Vivek as well as Mr. Vijendran. Now, empathy cannot be a double-edged sword at all. In fact, I would like to state that the quantum of success would be directly proportional to the empathy, the quantity of empathy that what you can exhibit. Now, empathy can be for a positive attribute as well as even when you have to take a decision which is on the other side. And even when you, for example, you are not taking a decision which is not a very pleasant decision, I think lack of empathy can be also one of the reasons for that. Even then you lose interest, you lose respect because you have failed, to take a disciplinary action where actually it was required. So I think it cannot be a double-edged sword. I think that's what I wanted to communicate.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Sunil. In fact, Nimish Bhatnagar, your ex-colleague from Bayer, presently in Madagascar, is sending regards to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello. My regards to you as well, Nimish.
Also to the gentleman who asked a question on empathy, just try to search on YouTube. There's a very famous video of Simon Sinek on empathy and leadership.
Yes.
S-I-M-O-N, Simon, S-I-N-E-K. Simon
Yes.
Sinek on empathy and leadership.
Yes.
It's a very, very beautiful video, 4 to 5 minutes. And it explains very methodically why empathy is a critical aspect.
Absolutely, absolutely true, sir. And that's very, very.
I think,
And
sir,
one more question from
Yes.
Prashant Menon, sir. So this question is to again VB, sir. What could be the telltale signs when a leader is getting more directive and less inclusive?
Very simple. If a leader is not going to engage his team on a discussion and just comes and outlines a plan and says, go ahead and do this, and others have to methodically do it and tells her this is the outcome of what we have discussed, that is a very clear directive leadership that goes through into the place. If a person is to engage, then I would believe that he would first and foremost assimilate a set of people who are conversant and familiar with the subject, take their opinions and views, and then take the call of providing the decision to say what he picks and chooses, because he is the person engaging on the risk factors of that decision. So as long as he engages people and comes and articulates what needs to be done, I think it's participative. And directive is simply saying, I don't care what you guys do. This is what I expect. Go ahead, do this, come back and learn. So that's a very simple, rudimentary way I put across. If somebody has to tell me what is directive leadership versus participative leadership.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think and both have their roles. Sometimes you need to be more directive, and most of the times you need to be inclusive as a leader.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Just one comment I would like to share here. Dr. Ganesh Naik, he's saying that I am signing out, and it was a great session.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Ganesh.
you. Thank you.
Something which we'd like to share is that still there are more than 20, only 20 people still live on Facebook, for the first time, because
And 25 in YouTube.
yeah, and still they are learning and they are enjoying the session.
Yeah, I say, sir, I have one question from Facebook.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So Venugopal sir, it's really important for a leader to rub shoulders with the team, and that is how we can become very participative. And that is why leaders are always somebody who know the way, show the way, and go the way. Mr. Sandeep Tiwari has asked something that empowering frontline managers make full sense. However, in reality, how many companies empower the frontline managers to take decisions?
Yeah, I think it's very true. I have not seen too many companies getting into the process of empowering the frontline managers. And I think that is the reason why Vivek had the presentation of saying that you need to empower the frontline. The very fact that you're asking this question is indicative enough. But at the same time, I think there is a very important responsibility for the frontline here. The frontline should understand that empowering him means he is the person responsible for the outcome of the decisions that the company has asked you to do and implement at the marketplace. So your ability to translate those outcomes into actions need to be well practiced, need to be well articulated as per the laid down SOPs, and you need to have the courage and the strength to talk your team through into taking that decision. The moment you and I transfer that practice into action, or rather that knowledge into action, I can say that the companies are ready to empower their people. I would believe that in the industry we have reached not more than 50-60% of empowering the frontline leadership. That also is relatively a good sign, because don't forget, frontline, as I believe, is the art of execution. And from an art of execution, if you give too much of power of empowerment, you can start doing what you want to do and what you don't want to do if you're not in sync with strategy. 9 out of 10 times strategies fail because people have not understood the strategy.
Yes.
And the balance 1% is a time that when all the 10 people implement the strategy without having understood it properly. So in classical parlance, you would say they have executed it well. But if they have executed it well without understanding the strategy, it will fail. So when you empower too much, you also run the risk of failing a strategy. So a 50-50 chance is there. So I would advise prudence and caution while you do an empowerment. Don't give an empowerment to a person to say, you can go and distribute samples as per your wish. You can go and detail a product as per your wish. That empowerment is a dangerous empowerment. So these are some of the rudimentary basics that we need to apply in managing teams. Okay?
Absolutely, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it goes with a warning like use it where the benefits are more than the risk. So that also goes with empowering. So that's a wonderful answer, Vijendran sir. I would like our Vivek sir, if he can add some value to this, because he actually highlighted this point of empowering the frontliners.
Well, along with empowerment comes accountability. People should be trained on empowerment and made accountable also.
Yes.
Vijendran was talking about 9 out of 10 times the strategy execution is very poor. I have a small solution to this. Engage the people the field people who actually implement the strategy in the strategy execution itself. If you read an article by Jack Welch, Jack Welch was perhaps the most successful CEOs of the USA. He writes that whenever at GE he took or floated a new idea, he used to discuss with 5,000 people. During that discussion, there used to be debates. All the good points were absorbed. All the good points were told why they cannot be accepted. In the end, the people felt, yes, the strategy in making the strategy or idea, I have been involved. And when you involve the people in the strategy making, the execution is far better. Today, this is possible in the pharmaceutical industry for the simple reason we can have most of our strategy meetings online, where even when a new product is being introduced or when a new strategy is being floated, you engage all the implementers, especially the first line. Medical reference, okay, but at least the first line in making the strategy. And with that, the increase in the rate of strategy execution can increase exponentially.
Yes,
That's my take.
Can I add
Vivek
one
sir,
point here?
Sure.
Sunil sir. Dr.
Yes,
Sunil.
Sunil sir.
Yes, sir.
See, actually, empowerment has to be very relative. Now, when it comes to, it is relative with respect to the position. Now, for example, a first line manager, what empowerment can you give? Basically, the essence of strategy cannot be empowered or cannot be changed. It cannot be empowered to change the essence of strategy. So it depends that what is the empowerment and basically in what relation to the position. Now, for example, you can actually give an empowerment maybe on a very, I would say, operational level. But the essence of the strategy cannot be empowered in terms of the way in which a strategy needs to be executed. Maybe some flexibility in execution is what I would say term as the empowerment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And going back to what Vivek sir said about Mr. Jack Welch, one of the greatest CEO of GE, he emphasized on one thing which was known as the generosity gene. So along with what we call empathy, there has to be a level of generosity as well. And definitely along with empowerment, accountability is absolutely essential for that. So once again, back to ICS, sir, if he has got any more questions.
Thank you very
Yes.
much, Arpan. I think we are running out of time already. More than 2 hours we have been engaging our speakers on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I think we can take the closing remark from each and every speaker and close, right? So thank you very much, everyone. We are humbled, delighted, and enriched for today's session. Really a very interactive and enriching session, and thoroughly enjoyed. Really, we are really thankful to each and every speakers. Vivek sir, your closing remarks.
My closing remarks on this Teachers' Day it has been a wonderful day of learning from stalwarts like Vijayendran and Dr. Sunil. And I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Sunil and Vijayendran.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Vijayendra sir, your closing remarks.
Oh, thank you so much for a very nicely articulated and engaged session. As usual, it is always a great pleasure to hear from people like Vivek, Sunil, and all of you. Thanks once again to everyone for some enlightening thoughts and engaged learning, which has happened to me as well. I surely am indebted to all of you people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Very humble. Dr. Sunil sir, your closing remarks, please.
Yeah, I would replicate what Professor Vivek as well as Dr. Vijayendran, Mr. Vijayendran said. I thoroughly enjoyed, as well as there was an enrichment as well, no doubt about it. And it's always a pleasure and a privilege to be associated with Mr. Vijendran as well as Professor Vivek and the entire LPC team. So once again, great work done by the LPC team and good wishes for your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We are eagerly waiting for in future also for your guidance and mentorship to us. Look forward to get some guidance from you. Over to Hitesh sir for his closing remarks. Hitesh sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ashwin. Thank you very much. I think it was not. I think today was the best ever Teachers' Day in my life, where I hosted two of my gurus here and learned many new facets of leadership at this age. Thank you very much, Professor Vivek, Mr. Vijendran, and Dr. Sunil. Thanks once again.
Thank you very much. Arpan, your closing remarks. Thank you very much for cooperation. Yes. Arpan.
Yes, Yashwant sir. Thank you, Yashwant sir. It couldn't have been a bigger occasion than this, having three stalwarts in the industry. And believe me, sir, for a learner like me, it was like the knowledge fountains which were outpouring with knowledge. And I was trying to quench my thirst as much as possible. And my regards to the three great leaders, Vivek sir, Venugopal sir, and Sunil sir, for enriching us with such knowledgeable things on Teachers' Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Arpan. ICS sir, over to you.
First of all, thanks to all the three teachers and gurus of the pharma industry today with us, and we are humbled and really honored to be with them on this Teachers' Day. And thanks to all the LPC offline teachers as well as online teachers who have added value through their comments, to their questions, like Balaji sir, we have Prashant Menon sir, and everybody who are watching and engaged with us on this Teachers' Day. Thank you, and once again, happy Teachers' Day to all.
Thank you very much, ICS sir. Now, at the closing remarks, I would like to Raman to add some value. Being a founder of LPC, this is a journey we have taken a consultation by Raman. Thank you very much, Raman, for creating this platform for learning and sharing. Over to you, Raman.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Now we have come to the end of today's live pharma coalition, that is LPC-72 leadership session on the topic on the great three leadership for the different areas that we try to cover it on the occasion of the Teacher Day. Thank you, LPC Forum, to the platform giving the start and at the last of the word of thanks. Instead of saying the thanks to, I would like to say all the best to all the speaker, because our journey started onto the LPC, and this is the learning and sharing platform across the India. Very nice, informative, useful, practical, day-to-day experience sessions by all our three speakers, and a great, well-planned, time-bound show run by our all four moderators today. And I would like to say all the best to our live audience and the viewer from the Facebook audience and the viewer. Kindly keep liking and following the LPC page, and YouTube audience and the viewer, please do subscribe our LPC YouTube channel. I will just like to throw it that today's number at the last. Today, we got the people reach of around 505 people currently. This video, it has been reached till time on the Facebook, and as the rightly number said by the ICS sir, on the addition to it is we are currently live onto a 4 platform. One is the LPC Facebook page, LPC Facebook group, LinkedIn, and YouTube, where we got the today 80 plus live viewers onto all 4 platform. The highest we got it onto LPC Facebook page, where the 39 reach, it has been highest at the peak of the mid of the session. Followed by it will be YouTube. Currently we have a YouTube viewer that was also the reach of the 27 or the highest. LPC group 19 was the highest, and the LinkedIn statistic that we will get it at the once we close the today's session. So last, be a LPC mentor program registered member for the great customized learning and sharing. Thank you so much to all speakers and our today's moderator. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much.
Nice.